Everybody ready? We'll go. We're going to go ahead. When the clerk does a roll call, there's obviously two people not here. Director Ferryman, Vice President Ferryman is on his way, and Secretary Schaefer will not be in attendance this morning. So I'm going to go ahead and call the January 9th study session to order. And if you do the roll call, Madam Clerk.
Sure. Director Arthur Perry.
Here.
Assistant Secretary Robert Ulu.
Here.
President Michael Schaefer.
Here. Thank you. Scott?
Thank you, Mr. President.
I beg your pardon. I'm sorry. I need to open up public comments first. And seeing no one from the public, we'll go ahead and close public comments officially. Now I'll give it to you, Scott. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. It is my pleasure to introduce to the board and to the public our newest employee, Steve Hodges, who's going to be our finance manager. As you know, Wendy Davis is retiring from her illustrious career in public sector. Her last day will be next Friday, January 19th. So we're very pleased to have Steve with us. He comes from the San Diego County Water Authority, where he worked in the finance department in accounting. Prior to that, he had my old job in Carlsbad as an analyst there in Public Works, working on budgets. And prior to that, he worked in the city of Las Vegas' finance department, which is a quite extensive and large department, and worked on all capacities in the finance department. So I'd like to welcome Mr. Steve Hodges.
Thank you.
Steve, welcome.
Thank you.
Before you start, I met Steve yesterday at the agenda review, and I've forgiven him over the evening for being a Padres fan, because we're going to indoctrinate him more into the Angels realm. And see.
Are you going to give him that as a welcoming gift?
I could. Would you like to do that? Okay. Anyway, Steve, go ahead. Introduce yourself.
So on top of that, we're going to have to do something because the Angels do play the Padres this year. So we're going to have to get a little bet going about who wins the series, and maybe I'll have to give you a Padres bobblehead.
He'll take it.
But I am very happy to be here. Everyone's been very welcoming, so thank you. And I did grow up in San Diego. We got stuck in the desert for about 10 years during the recession, but I'm very happy to be back. And thanks for having me. And my door's always open, and I'll send you guys my cell phone number if you ever need to call or need any help. I'm always here and willing to talk, whether it's work or baseball or whatever. So thanks for having me.
Welcome aboard. Scott forgot to mention that our retiring finance director is in Tahiti as we speak. Is that correct?
I think so. I don't know. Yeah, it might be. Yeah.
Lucky her. So, all right. Item 2.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ed Roberts will be giving this report.
Ed.
Sorry about that. Good morning, President Schaefer and members of the board. Ed Roberts, I'll be presenting your December 2017 Code Enforcement Officer report, providing you with a quick summary of my activity and what's going on out in Costa Mesa. For the month of December, had a total of 5 proactive scavenging investigations. As usual, I have charted them for the benefit of the board, and I've included a map on each with a brief narrative describing the context scenario for your reference. Location number 1 was 519 Bernard Street. Nothing unusual about any of these contacts. One I do want to bring to the attention of the board, especially you, President Schaefer. In the 1600 block of New Hampshire, which abuts up to the 405 freeway, and there's also a river access channel right there. I did have a contact with a couple of folks, transients, and they were cooperative, nice folks, but it was kind of unusual to have a scavenging contact on the north end of town, and so I dug a little bit deeper in my contact with the folks and ascertained the 2 subjects I contacted traditionally reside on the riverbed in the city of Anaheim, kind of in the vicinity of the Anaheim Fire Training Station, which is on the border technically of Orange and Anaheim, right there by Anaheim Stadium Honda Center area. There's been a push by county agencies to relocate folks, the transient encampments that have proliferated along the riverbed there. And that's essentially what I have here. So I'm going to more than likely redirect my efforts for scavenging, because I've been, in the last few years, kind of operating under the assumption that there's not a whole lot going on in the north end, and I've been reporting to that over the course of the last few years. I have a feeling that because we have a bike path that spans from Anaheim into Costa Mesa, ultimately terminating in Newport Beach, it's kind of a highway, pedestrian highway for these folks. And there is a gateway ramp into our community off of that bike path through Moon Park. So I'll do a series of directed patrols in that area, some early morning efforts just to assess what is happening out there and provide you with a better detailing of, if we have any scavenging proliferation in that specific sector of the city. Above and beyond that, no real negative context. Most folks go along with the program. So with scavenging, nothing out of the ordinary to report beyond that.
Ed, I appreciate your comments about and I noticed the New Hampshire, and we've been talking about wondering when, not if, but when the folks from that northern part were going to start filtering down. I know that the county's doing a lot up in that area to move people out, to provide services and do those things. But I appreciate your efforts in the north side, because it's going to get more, I think.
I believe so, sir. I believe we'll see it. A few months ago, Scott tasked me with meeting with the City of Costa Mesa's homeless outreach worker program that we have. So I have my resources. I have my contacts at City Hall. If I do see encampments starting to break, I'm going to be very cognizant. My function is obviously going to be the sanitary district aspects, but if I'll be a set of eyes for them. If I do see encampments or other stuff breaking out, I'll make sure I forward that on to my counterparts at City Hall.
And I don't think any of us up here would want to detract from you doing it. I think we would support those efforts, because it's going to affect all of us, and it may even be worthwhile as we get these folks that are coming down, that you notify the county, if there are any county agencies that need to be notified of that. I mean, they must be tracking a lot of this, and heck, some of them, they may even be okay with people moving out of the county, those areas, and moving down into the city's jurisdictions.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to comment on that, but I think onus is going to fall, based off of my experience and what I've seen in my dialogue with the Costa Mesa outreach workers. We have a pretty good program in place with City Hall, and I think as long as we jump on it and we're aware of what's taking place, for the impact on the sanitary district, I think we should be okay. We'll just we'll work it that way, and if not, then we'll seek other solutions. Continuing, that will conclude the portion of the scavenging report. Do any other members of the board have any questions?
Okay. I just had a question for Mike. At Moon Park, do they have restrooms there?
No. What they found at Moon Park, you're familiar with where Moon Park is,
Yeah,
obviously.
I'm sure.
And there's a lot of traffic there, not just transients, but a lot of the people who ride their bikes park there and use that. Not having a restroom there, I think, is a problem, because, sometimes we'll walk down that way, and as you get onto the river trail, you'll see, you'll see signs of people using it for a restroom. And the other thing was where the 405 freeway crosses right over the riverbed. That area that's right underneath the freeway is a perfect place for people. They've got gates. It's locked. It's a locked area. But there was something in the paper recently about somebody had cut those locks off, and they were living up underneath the freeway. So,
Right.
Moon Park is going to be something the city's going to have to look at.
I think in one of our discussions with the restrooms, if that ever happens, portable restrooms, that might be a potential location.
That could be a potential location for those. I agree with it.
After listening to at Waco about the problems they have in San Diego.
About the hepatitis thing, yeah.
So all things to take into consideration. Second component of my report is going to be the trash container enforcement. Course of December, I take a softer stance with my enforcement, use my judgment a little bit better, but nevertheless, we did have to do some enforcement. There were a series of 86 notices issued throughout the community that month. Most of them, as always, are resolved with a door knock and in-person contact with the person, and no reoccurrences. I don't see any real, patterns that I would identify to you. I mean, it's typical Costa Mesa. It's just spread out sporadically throughout the community with no rhyme or reason behind it. No cases of graffiti of any note. And my last page of the report will be the just an at-a-glance map for you. And you'll see primarily West End, and then, of course, the one up on the north end, which was out of the ordinary.
Okay. The holidays pose any problems with people with carts?
I did see that, sir. Especially towards like the tail end of the year, where folks are going out of town and the kids are, everyone's taking their family vacations and all that. That's where the discretion and latitude.
Kids forget to bring them in, or the neighbor forgets to bring them in?
Most of that stuff, sir, and we would be inundated with complaints right around Christmas to New Year's. So just kind of refocus our efforts, in the last week elsewhere. But I think everything turned out okay. I wasn't aware of any complaints or issues that we received out of the ordinary.
To kind of diverge a little bit, I noticed today, that for New Year's, there was a day delay in pickup of trash. And my trash gets picked up on Thursday normally, but it was picked up on Friday. I think they picked my cans up at about 8 o'clock at night. So they must have been working and then the Christmas trees didn't get picked up until Saturday, I noticed. So it was kind of must have been a tough road for the CR&R guys for the holidays. So, all right, any other questions for Ed?
Oh, good job, Ed.
And publicly, once again, today is National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. So for your other role, I can't tell you how much we appreciate your efforts, and we always encourage you to be safe on the streets. Okay, Bob?
It's very kind of you. Thanks so much. It's appreciated.
Okay, Scott.
Thank you, Mr. President. The organics tonnage reports, staff's available to answer any questions.
Before we go into the report, just record that Vice President Ferryman is with us. Thank you. Jimmy, good morning.
Much to my your dismay.
Did you lose your razor under your nose? Or?
I don't want to talk about it. But I did have a legitimate reason for not being here.
Any questions on the organics? Bob, do you have any questions?
Oh, thank you.
The December, will we see a bump? Because the Christmas trees don't make a huge bump in the organics, do they?
That may a little bit.
Little bit?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. All right. Item 4.
Again, available to answer any questions.
We don't have the report for OCC yet.
Not in time available for posting.
So does that 60.64 not reflect OCCs?
It reflects OCC without the month of December.
That's what I mean, without the month of December. Okay.
When Mike Valier was here a month or two ago, he mentioned that it's not that the city reports. I think it's per capita disposal of trash. Is there any way we can get those numbers, if that is what they're actually reporting, and maybe do a corollary, instead of the diversion number and/or include the diversion number, but if the city is actually reporting a per capita number, I'd like to understand, how we fit in that process.
So that's a good idea. It really is. Because they have to do the report, and they're well over the normal requirements of the state. And our 60%,
I think so, yeah.
where does that fall into
Yeah.
their total?
Yeah.
And is it putting their total way over the amount required right now?
I would assume it is. Nabila, do you have any idea from the city?
Based on our report last month, the city overall, the community is at over 70%. So it didn't, based on the numbers they provided me, I can't really say where our 60% fits.
Yeah, I mean, just maybe for further perspective.
Including the report, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, if that can be done, I think that'd be another,
It'd be real good. That will affect our financial obligations maybe, if we don't have to spend any extra money, and we're meeting the state requirements with the cities and ours.
Yeah.
That's what Bob's probably trying to get at, you know.
I think they'll meet it, they'll just direct the trash haulers, to
Yeah.
meet it.
I'm sure they will.
And we're such a small percentage of the city's overall trash.
Are we like 1/3 or?
Oh, we're about, well, I think it's 17 or 18% the last time I looked at it.
So let's see if we can do that to include in the future.
Just.
We could do like
kind of
at
report
a
little
study
bit
session. We
in
could look
sometime
at
in the
it, you know.
future.
At a study session, that'd be a pretty good topic, you know.
Yeah.
Good. Any other questions on the diversion report? All right. Scott, I know you're chomping at the bit to give this report, so let's
Yes,
get on
I am.
with
Yes.
five.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm very happy and excited to report to you and to the board that in the calendar year 2017, CMSD had 0 sanitary sewer overflows. And that's the first in the history of this organization that's ever had 0 sanitary sewer overflows in a 12-month period. In fact, the last time we had a SSO was on November 19th, 2016, which is today 416 days ago. And I do believe the significant factor for achieving this result is the change in philosophy in how we clean our sewer systems, from the contracting to having in-house a 2-man crew cleaning an entire system within 18 months. Also having a dedicated 2-man crew for the pump stations that goes out there and inspects the stations every day, does the PMs, the preventive maintenances, annual preventive maintenance every year on the stations. We haven't had a pump station SSO since 2013, and that's after the 2013 SSO. That's when we hired the 2 employees to dedicate themselves to the pump stations. So I believe this change in philosophy has greatly impacted the results of achieving 0 SSOs, and like I said, every day is a record, and we'll continue doing our best.
Jim?
I think we need to educate the public as to what we've done.
Yes.
And there needs to be, and not just in our newsletter, but we need to put it out in a,
A press release?
yeah.
Yes, we'll work on that, yes.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. I think that's a
Yeah,
great-
because Mesa, put in there, they've gone 400 days without an accident, or 600 days or something, and they printed that.
Yeah,
This is substantially, well, this is very significant. It's also significant to be safe, but, I think it's just a matter of, Scott writing up something, but don't put any of this technical stuff in,
Right, I understand.
except, maybe our names.
Yeah, Scott, when you talked about preventive maintenance with our 2-man crew, what happens if they find a problem they can't handle? Do we call somebody in?
Yes, and then we'll
Does that happen very often?
not very often, because we do have the equipment now to take out the pumps and to modify them. Sometimes, though, we will, when we upgrade the pumps, we'll send them out to Xylem or Flight, which is the manufacturer of the pumps, and they'll upgrade them and then bring them back to us.
Are those pump stations ever need to be painted, and
Yes.
do they do that also? or not?
Our staff does that. We coat, we paint the valves and the pipes to prevent corrosion, which extends the lifespan of the pump stations, but we do that ourselves.
Do they also exercise those valves?
Yes.
When they go in there?
Yes, we do that every week. We exercise the valves, yes. Yes.
I think one of the nice things, and I appreciate you saying that the vision of the board is responsible, but, that's only, I think, a small part. You and your crew and everybody take a lot of pride in this, and I think that's well said for all the guys, and obviously let them know our appreciation, and hopefully they know how much we appreciate it, but it really is a great accomplishment, so.
Yeah, we did. We had a
you guys did a good job with it.
we had a little pizza party at the yard and recognizing them for this achievement, so they appreciate it. So
Maybe one additional thing, Orange County Sand District is extremely sophisticated as far as using instrumentation to monitor their pump stations, and they have about the same record. And IRWD is very aggressive in that area also. So, I hesitate to send our staff over to see Orange County Sand District and hire WD because they probably pay more. But it might be worth the effort, for at least the instrumentation people to go over there and develop a relationship with what they do, because they're increasingly more aggressive with their instrumentation evaluation of the electronics and instrumentation. But
Bob, do they check those every day also? Or do you know?
I think so. They have a lot more telemetry connected to the stations, and they have a person that watches their 17 or 18 stations all the time. So they have a lot more ability. But
If you think back in the old days, when we first got on the board and the city was kind of running the show, we came from, pitiful to perfect. And, just exactly what you attributed to is what we're doing is working. And we need to keep it up, and accolades need to be given out to all of our staff, and we're very proud of you.
Very, very proud. The old days, is that when we had to have guys there with the hand pumps moving?
No, the old days.
Bad.
The old days, we paid the city to do the work, and they didn't do the work.
They just didn't do it.
They didn't do it.
There were no records.
No record, no records.
No records, huh? And we're paying them $1 million a
$1
year.
million a year. And we could never find out what that money went to.
Keep up the good work, good report, and obviously, again, very proud of everybody. So. Okay, takes us to oral communications. Any directors have any?
Just a quick thing.
Yeah, go ahead, Art.
I went to the last city council meeting. I told Scott this morning, and I went to see if John Stevens was going to talk about the portable restrooms.
Yeah.
He didn't have it on the agenda. But then I met with Katrina Foley, and she said on the 16th of this month, that's going to be on the agenda from Stevens. And it's not going to be in the beginning of the meeting, it's going to be at the end of the meeting. And I think Scott said he's going to be in attendance and talk like for the 3-minute max.
Okay.
But I just want to bring it to your attention, if you wanted to come on the 16th, we have our Lions Club meeting that night, but we could probably go after and still catch that item.
Okay.
Just a thought for you. I thought it was,
do those meetings go past 10 o'clock?
those go till midnight
Yeah.
at least. But I'm not sure when it's going to come up, but Scott's ready for it.
I think they're, based on the planning commission last night, with all the sober living home discussions, that may push some things out too, so. Under comments, we're moving forward again with the battery recycling program. Schools have been notified. Where are we in that right now?
We're about halfway through. We have, I think, 19 schools participating.
Oh, that's
Maybe
good.
more.
It's good.
That's more than last year.
Yeah.
Wow, good.
Any high schools?
No high school this year.
Okay.
We should be concluding May 30th.
Great.
And I'll reach out about the
Fantastic, good. Okay. Any other comments or questions?
Well, I had once thought, Gina, maybe you and I had this discussion, or Scott and I, but we've had several recycling events at Orange Coast College, where we get in batteries and lights and different household hazardous waste, paint and whatnot. But when I went to one of them, they gave me a little pail for batteries. And I don't know if that would be an expensive, having that pail in my garage, I have a place to put the batteries. They're now so old, though, that they're they're battery cakes rather than just batteries. But
You're right, because at Estancia, they gave out little barrels.
little pails.
When I did it, and we don't do that anymore?
Yeah, we did the school.
Right.
Itself, but not to the individual families.
Okay.
I think that would be something that if we want to, or maybe we should explore the potential and/or the cost, and that might be out of the realm of reason, but it would be an enhancement that I use residentially.
Kind of, we give out Sharps containers maybe we ought to look at giving out a battery container to families that want to come pick one up, or
Yeah,
that might
I mean,
detract
just,
from the
just
school program.
maybe take a look at it in the future. If the cost might be prohibitive, I don't know.
Oh,
Or some research on whether it's important or not.
yeah, that's a good call. Okay, Jimmy, it's on.
Did we send anything to Arlene about her loss? We did, okay. Okay.
Yeah, and I guess just for the record, Arlene's not with us because she lost her husband just after Christmas, and I know it's devastated her more than us, but we're all deeply touched. Jim Schaefer was quite a guy. I mean, he represented our country, or served our country, and was a good man, and we're all going to miss him. Even though he spelled his name wrong, we're still going to miss him. Okay, then I'm going to adjourn the study session